In this video, I'm going to go over a switch configuration with you. I would do switch 1, but I'm in the middle of upgrading it, so I'm just going to go ahead and configure switch 2. This is with the typical configuration I use for ICE. So I already took the time to wipe this switch beforehand, but just to give you an idea of where we're at, this is a 3650, and I'm on 3.6.6 code for iOS XE. So let me go ahead and jump in. Since we're starting out with a fresh config, I'm just going to go ahead and do some housekeeping really quickly. So let's go ahead and give it a host name, and create the VLANs I want. Name data. VLAN 30 is going to be test VLAN for my testing. Let's go ahead and give it an IP address. VLAN 100, IP address 10.1.176, 255.255.255.255.0. Shut. Okay, so go ahead and start configuring some of the ICE configuration. Oh, actually, I did forget one thing. VLAN 100 IP helper address 10.1.100.21. So I am putting DHCP on there, the DHCP helper address on there to carry the DHCP information over to ICE. If you have Radius and iOS probes, you don't necessarily need this, but I do like to put it there just because there are some cases that you'll need to use that for. So I'll go ahead and include that in the lab configuration. So let's go ahead and configure the logging, so logging source interface VLAN 100, logging origin ID is going to be the IP, logging monitor informational, logging host. This is what I'm going to configure with ICE, and you can configure multiple logging hosts. So if you have another logging host you want to send this information to, you're more than welcome to. So went ahead and did that. Let's go ahead and start configuring my AA new model. And I'm going to start configuring some of my Radius server information. So Radius server ICE address IPv4 10.1.100.21 auth port is going to be 1812. Account port is going to be 1813. And my key is going to be the super secret ice cold. Then we're going to go ahead and create my Radius group. So it's AAA group server Radius ice group. And server name is going to be ice. The ice server we just created. Now you can create a list of these servers and then tie the group to the AAA commands. In my lab, of course, I only have one ICE node, so not really needed, but I'm just kind of going through the example of it for you. Then we're going to configure Radius dynamic author. This enables ICE to do change of authorization, which allows it to change the access dynamically. So we're going to do 121 server key. It's going to be ice cold. And auth type any. The next thing I'm going to configure is I'll go ahead and go through my AAA commands really quickly with you. So AAA authentication .1x default group ice group. Then AAA authorization network default group ice group. AAA authorization network auth list. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Proxy default group ice group. We're going to go ahead and make sure we update ICE periodically. I'll just put for counting auth proxy default start stop group ICE group. We're going to do counting for .1x default start stop group ICE group. System default start stop group ICE group. So we've got the global AAA configs so far. So now we're going to go ahead and configure the profiling information. So let me go ahead and enable CDP globally. LLDP run. Let's start configuring the device sensor. So device sensor, filter list, DHCP list, TLV DHCP, option name host name, option name requested address, option name parameter request list, option name class identifier, option name client identifier. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and say device sensor filter spec DHCP include list TLV DHCP, which we just created. Device sensor filter list. Now we're going to create one for CDP. CDP list TLV CDP. TLV name is going to be device name. TLV name is address type. TLV name is going to be capability type. TLV name platform type. Exit. Device sensor filter spec. CDP include list TLV CDP. Next, we're going to go ahead and create the device sensor list for LLDP. LLDP lisp TLV LLDP. TLV name system description. Device sensor filter spec LLDP include list TLV LLDP. Then we're going to do device sensor accounting, device sensor notify all changes, IP device tracking probe delay 10. That's very useful. There was some older switches that were, you'll notice some errors on if showing duplicate IP address. That device tracking, it even says it in the recommended switch config for ICE that if you experience that issue, just use that command. We're going to go ahead and make sure that device tracking is enabled in general. And I've also actually, I might be messing up that switch config. It might be actually probe auto source override. That's the if you start to see clients that say they detected duplicate address on the LAN. That's the auto source override. Actually, I think is the one that fixes that. Delay, and I'm just going to 10. I'm going to make sure EPM logging is turned on. EPM access control open. Looks like it's going to be depreciated to access session ACL default pass-through, and that allows you to have authorizations without an ACL attached to it. So it just kind of removes the default ACL and permits it. Let's go ahead and do authentication, Mac move permit. And SNMP enable traps, SMP authentication, link up. We're just going to do traps for link up, link down, start, warm start, SNMP server enable traps, Mac notification, change, move, threshold, Mac address notification, change, interval 1, Mac address table, notification, change, address table, notification, Mac move. So we've got some. The next thing I'm going to configure is the Radius server vendor specific attributes. This is for Radius probes. So this is going to be Radius server VSA send authentication, Radius server. Oop, it would help if I spelled Radius server correctly. VSA send accounting, Radius server attribute 6 on for login. I'm just going to save myself all the fat fingering and just kind of go with this. Access request to conclude. 31 Mac format. Properties. Send NAS port detail. Radius server dead criteria. Time 5 tries 3. Dead time 10. Oh, never mind on that. Session template monitor. And a couple other housekeeping items. Let's make sure that we've got .1x enabled globally. I'm going to call equal HTTP server IP HTTP authentication local IP HTTP secure server. Actually, IP Sage version 2, HTTP secure, active session modules none, PHP active modules none. PHP make sure radius source is correct. Even though we only have one IP address as the interface on here, I still want to make sure, just because I want to make sure ICE knows what IP to expect it from. And then we're going to create some global ACLs really quickly, which will be used for guest redirect and default ACLs. So give me a moment while I configure that. The first one will be the guest redirect, and the logic behind the guest redirect ACL is a little backwards. You only need to do this for the guest redirect, but it's going to be, so everything that's deny is what will not be redirected to the ICE portal. And there's certain things you don't want to be redirected, like DNS, and you want it to be able to get an IP address. So any equal boot PC and any equal boot PS. Deny TCP any host. This is ICE, so this is what the redirect page will be. So we want it to be able to successfully get to that redirect page. And this is for client provisioning. And then by putting a permit IP any at the bottom, everything else will be redirected to ICE for if it's a authorization profile that requires you to do a guest redirect. So permit is the stuff that doesn't get redirected, that is allowed through. Permit is everything that gets redirected to ICE. And then I'm going to make an ACL for my default access. So this is going to be ACL default. Then it's permit UDP any equal boot PS PC. So everybody who gets on will automatically be able to get an IP address, permit UDP any equal domain, and be able to get DNS. Then we're going to permit, in my case, I like to permit traffic to the domain controller so I can log in correctly. Permit ICMP any. Do write mem. Now we're going to go ahead and configure the interface configuration for ICE. So do interface range G1. Actually, let me see how many do show. I'm trying to figure out if this is a 24 port or a 48 port. Okay, 24 port. So I'm going to go ahead and configure everything from 13 to 24. And this is just going to be the interface configuration for ICE. So description .1x port, switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 100, authentication event fail action next method, logging event link status, indication event if ICE was, switch was unable to get to ICE, go ahead and reinitialize it on VLAN 100. Same thing if the switch is not able to communicate with ICE and it's the Radius server is down or dead, go ahead and authorize the voice domain if there is one at the time. Authentication server, and if ICE is authentication event server alive, and if the switch reinitializes communication with ICE, go ahead and reinitialize the authentication and allow it to authenticate at that point. Authentication host mode multi-auth. That means that there's going to be multiple hosts on this port that will be authenticated one at a time. I'm going to leave the authentication at open, which will allow basic access to go through. Authentication order .1x mab. Authentication priority .1x mab. Authentication port control auto. Authentication periodic. Authentication timer reauth. Reauthenticate server. Timer inactivity server. enable mab on the port, SNMP trap, Mac notify when it's changed or added or removed, and .1x authenticator, .1x timeout. So it's going to try to do .1x first, and for 10 seconds, then it fails over to mab. You can tune this a bit more, but 10 seconds is a good amount of time for someone to enter the password and try a couple things. Spanning tree, port fast, spanning tree, BPDU guard, enable, no shut. And there we go. We've kind of walked through the configuration of ICE at this point on a single switch. I believe this guy is still moving traffic, so I'll have to restart that later. But yeah, it's just to give you an idea of how I configure a switch and kind of some of the things I walk through as I'm doing it in my lab. And in the next video, we'll kind of walk through some of the policies for creating profiling